Hello everyone and welcome to a new series, Motion in Game Physics 101, where we will explore how to make objects move as the title says. Specifically, we'll be looking at the MonoGame framework, but these topics apply to almost any other framework. In this series, we'll explore how to create a simple magnet and magnetic materials in our project. So let's get right into it. So to start your magnet project, you can just, if you have already installed MonoGame, you can just type in the following command, .net new mgdisk.gl and that's your name that you're going to put in here. I'm just going to name this project this magnets and MonoGame. You can name it whatever you'd like. If you haven't installed .net yet, you would need to go watch a tutorial and install that first, otherwise this is not going to work. Now you wait for your project to be created, and afterwards you can check if it's created and just go into the directory it has been created in. Now we want to add a new package. This will be the MonoGame.extended package. It will just make it easier to quickly draw a block. Of course you can do this without the framework, but for the sake of the tutorial, we're going to use the MonoGame extended framework. So you can just say the following command, .net add package MonoGame dot extended. Once it has been added, you quickly want to check if everything's working. .net build your project, and then .net run. And let's see, I think you can't see screen currently. I'll just put it on. There you go. As you can see, everything's working fine. There we go. You successfully created the project. Now we can move to the next step. The next step will be to add a block class. This will just make it easier to separate the actual updating stuff and the actual block and physics stuff from each other. So to start, you can just say the following command, or you can just go here and say new file. And you can choose what you want to create, but I will just use the command prompt because it's easier. So you say code block.cs. So VS Code will open, let's just shut up VS Code, there we go. So VS Code will open a new file and that you just specify. So you can just say class block, and then you can start to add your methods and everything. But you should just specify which frameworks you are using. We are using MonoGame.extended and just plain old MonoGame.framework. Okay, so the other stuff we want in this project will be, we want this block to move. So you can just do basic movement, taking it from left to right by updating its position. Or we can do this in a nice and visually appealing way and add vectors to do this for us. So a velocity vector and a position vector. You might be familiar with this from physics, specifically like high school physics. So we can just add, this is easy in MonoGame, so you can just say vector 2, okay, and of course it will import some of the numerics for you. Our vector 2s will be position, so this is pos or velocity, and we can just leave it like that. We will also include an update method, a void update method, and this will have the delta time, change in time between each frame. Now later on we're going to make this constant, but for now we'll just use this. Don't worry, just watch the videos at the end and you'll figure it out. So we'll just add, in the update method we'll just add the velocity to the position. Don't forget to initialize your position and your velocity, otherwise you might get junk. So let's just say vector 2.0 for both. Of course, we want to be able to see this block, so that means you will have to include a draw function, or you can just draw it via the main function, but that's the code is a bit smelly, so we're not going to do that. So we'll just say draw. For this method you'll need a sprite batch, and notice here I have an underscore. This underscore indicates that this is a reference. So we are going to pass the sprite batch class as a reference, because classes are passed by reference in C#, so that we can use it inside here. This makes it just a little bit easier to use the same sprite batch everywhere. So we'll just say sprite batch draw. We're going to say draw rectangle, because we're just going to use a little block. Now of course it wants either a rectangle F, a location, or just the actual values. So we're just going to use the actual values. So we'll use position.x, position.y, and we'll just set this. You can set this as a constant previously. We can set this in the method itself, or the tutorial's sake again, we're just going to put it here. So we're just going to make it 30 by 30. Now what color do we want it? You can of course make this your favorite color or any color you like. So we're just going to choose red, and we want a thickness of, let's say, 10. And layer depth, don't worry about this, just make it 0. Let's see what's the problem here. See, you're just using the wrong imports here, so just remove system.drawing, because we don't want that. Also remove this, I don't know where this came from. And this will be, as you can see, there's a problem here again. It's where I haven't imported. Now this also has a problem. Remove system.numerical. So this is your import you're going to use. Just remove everything that's unused. There we go. Now we can draw this. So we can just go code in the game class. This is your main class. Scroll down. Let's create. So at first we're just gonna pass like a global variable. So let's make a global block. Private block. We'll just call this player. You can even initialize this right here. Since we're not passing any textures or anything yet, if you'd like to pass a texture, you would need to load the texture in load content and then initialize it here and set the texture here. But for now, our purposes, we're not going to do that. So to draw the actual rectangle, you need to call spritebatch.begin, spritebatch.draw, and spritebatch.end in that order. If you do it differently, there will be an error. So we'll just say spritebatch.begin, and we're not going to pass anything yet, and spritebatch.end. We want to draw our little block, so we'll say block draw. Wait, where is it? Sorry, layer dot draw. Again, a reference to sprite batch. Pass that, and since it's going to be, let's see if it works. So .name code. Let's just make this quicker. This code probably has already recognized which one. Yeah, there we go. This is correct. There we go. Ah, and see, there we have our little block. So far, so good. Now you can move on to the next step. Let's get this block to move. So to get this block to move, we can just add to the velocity. So we'll just initialize this velocity to a new vector. For now we're just going to do it in the x direction, so we're just going to say like 10, 0. A 10 might be a bit much, so we're just going to put that to 2. Problem is, if this finger goes too fast, we won't be able to see if it's moving, because it is going to move past the actual window boundary. To check for this, you can just like say if the position of X is greater than or equal to the length of the window, and it's 800 pixels. You can always make this a constant, but this is just a tutorial. I'm not going to do that. So if it is greater than that, minus the actual width of the block, make this constant, don't hard code it like me, and say the new velocity is equal to itself times -1. And if this is not true, so if the block has started to move this way, but it passed 800 minus 30, it will start moving this way. Now it's going to go past 0, 0 into the negative space. So we're just going to say if the position of X is smaller than or equal to 0 plus 30, so just have a boundary so you can actually see the thing, and then we'll say the velocity should again be negated. What is happening here? Sorry. There we go. Let's test this again. So we just run our project. As you can see, nothing's happening. Why is this the case? Well, if we inspect our code, we'll see there's 0 references to update. So always remember to actually call update, otherwise nothing's going to happen. We're just going to call update in here. Well, now we'll just ignore delta time, because it's not of importance right now. So just remember player.update. We'll just say 1. And let's try this again. As you can see, there's some kind of glitch. It's moving this way and that way, but it's never moving across. This is because it is already at 0, 0 plus 30. So it's just negating wherever. Let's fix this. So we're just going to make the position a new vector 2, and we're just going to make it 20, 0, so the player is 20 pixels that way. Sorry, make this 40, otherwise this is going to again do the same thing. There we go. Now the block's moving. Let's just hope the code works and it goes the other direction. There we go. A simple moving block. From here, you can do anything. This is like creating your hello world in any programming language. Now, of course, this is a little bit boring. Block doesn't move very quickly, so you can always just like add a 0, save, and run, and witness how magnificent it will be.